But venting is so healthy. It's getting it out. It's sharing my experience. It's being witnessed. And that's all true. But then what, Carla? What am I going to do now? Welcome to the Penthouse Frequency. I'm your host, Carla Elizondo, licensed psychotherapist and mindset coach. Here we explore personal development, spiritual awareness, emotional sobriety, and the tools that help you regulate so you can live from the inside out. We're not here to bypass life. We're here to alchemize it. No more basement thinking and feeling. It's all about the penthouse, baby. Let's dive in. Well, look who's back. It has been a minute, y'all. Thank you for your patience. I went into a deep dive. I launched the Penthouse Frequency community. If you're interested, all of the information is down in the show notes. But I am so happy to be back. And it was a full launch, and I could not be happier about it. And today's episode, I want to talk about venting. This question actually came up in the community about how venting isn't actually helpful. Okay, venting, we think it's helpful and makes us feel good, but let's look over. I'm going to read some notes. This is going to be a lesson that I'm going to teach in my Penthouse Frequency community, but I wanted to share it here first. So let's look at why we think venting is a good thing and why it feels good. Okay, first of all, venting feels good because it gives your brain and body a temporary sense of relief, validation, and regulation. But you know what it does? It quietly reinforces that very emotional state you're trying to move out of. So when something triggers us, when we feel angry and we want to share it, we want to call a friend, we want to text somebody, we want to make a video about it and just let it rip. We want to vent. In the short term, we get that temporary sense of relief. And there's nothing wrong with that, but we have to understand what's really happening. So we get that temporary sense of relief. We get validated, right? Somebody listening to us. And it feels like we get regulated, like it's out and it's there. I call it like a hot potato. When something is uncomfortable, it's like a big hot potato in our hands and we want to get rid of it. So we throw it at our friend and it diffuses it. It gives us that instant relief. And our friend validates us and says, yeah, you're right, and throws it back. And then we like do a hot potato toss back and forth until the potato cools. But at the end of the day, we're still left with the potato. We don't really deal with it or process it. I know that's a funny analogy, but you know me, metaphor queen over here. But instead of throwing it, just sitting with the heat of it and breathing through it. I have used examples before of when I learned about this, how venting is not really dealing with it. I said, okay, I'm going to practice this. And I had a hot potato and I just sat with it and I did like Lamaze breathing, like, and it was painful. And I sat through it until it cooled a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And I just sat with it. I didn't try to fix it. I didn't try to throw it out. I didn't text anybody. I didn't go to my sister about it. I just breathed through it and it went away on its own and it dissolved. And so again, it's a process and it's different for everybody, but let's get into this. So why does venting feel good? It gives us obviously that immediate relief from that heat we're feeling. We feel validated and we feel like we're regulated, but what we're really doing is we're reinforcing that emotion. We're throwing it outside and we're not dealing with it, okay? So our nervous system it's trying to discharge and get rid of that discomfort. So in parts work, we would say a manager is stepping in or a firefighter wants to put out that fire because our nervous system does not like what just happened to us. So we want to spew it and get it out, vent it. So when something upsetting happens, we go into that activation, fight, flight, freeze, and it creates this physical energy in our body, this physiological energy. And venting, texting, calling is one of the fastest ways to release that pressure. Again, this is not good or bad, but it has consequences. Everything we do has a consequence. So I want you to think about, when you shake up a soda bottle and then, we're activated. Our soda bottle, we're the soda bottle and we get activated. So like a big volcano is erupting inside. And then we open up the cap just a little bit to release some of that pressure. And it feels good. That pressure is relieving the symptom. And so that part of the venting, it's trying to regulate and get rid of that pressure. It's not weakness. We're seeking regulation, but there's another way. Okay. Now let's look at it another way. Number 2, we get a dopamine hit from being heard and validated, rightly so. And so, we vent to our sisters or our friends and they go, oh my gosh, I can't believe they did that. You're totally right. What a jerk. That's so unfair. And so we get reinforced our social bonding, safety, a sense of belonging. People get us, they understand us, and that triggers dopamine, oxytocin, connecting with people. And so the brain learns talking about this pain equals connection and reward, and that further bonding, right? Spilling the tea with our sisters, we feel bonded. And so we want to do it again and again, and it's unconscious. It's just a habit. And then number 3, it reinforces identity and self-image. And so it's the deeper layer. It's this deeper layer. So every time we tell a negative story, and it's a deeper layer that's unconscious that we don't want to continue because it reinforces this identity and the self-image that experience this trigger. So every time we tell the negative story, we're organizing it, we're doubling down, identifying with it, we're emphasizing, certain details. Of course, this always happens to me. I attract people like this. It strengthens that emotional charge, and it wires even deeper that neural pathway. So really venting is not just expressing, but it's rehearsing our identity. It's rehearsing what just happened to us because that kind of stuff happens to us and we experience those types of things. I'm the one that this always happens to. I'm the one that gets treated this way. And so our nervous system familiarizes that deeper into our identity. All right. So this is not it's not like a bad habit like smoking. Venting isn't like a dirty, dark habit. It is just something that we do automatically to help us, but we realize it's not adaptive and it's not really something that we want to perpetuate. Also, it creates emotional coherence in our body. This is where the addiction piece comes in. We get addicted to that validation, to that relief, that quick hit, that relief, the feeling validated by other people and like them agreeing with us. So our body becomes chemically familiar and addicted to frustration, anger, disappointment. We get a hit. We get that dopamine hit. It becomes our drug of choice. And so we feel good when we let go of that frustration or we share that frustration with others or our anger or our disappointment. And so when we vent, we're reactive. We're activating those chemicals. We're pumping them into our system and we're keeping that loop going. We've talked about before how Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor talks about how emotions last 90 seconds and we got to ride the wave and just let it pass, breathe through it instead of perpetuating it, keep hitting that key on the piano and letting that song play. And so we keep the loop going. And so even though it feels like a release, it's redosing the system. I love that. We're like taking another hit. And we talked about that in the community of like how we are addicted and we keep taking the next hit because the next thought has similar energy to it of the venting of the anger, of the frustration. And we are just like getting high on it. And it does feel good, but it doesn't help. So we temporarily feel better, but we get pulled right back into it later, and again becomes a habit. It also gives us the illusion of control. When something feels chaotic or unfair, we're telling that story to further identify with this. Again, this is what happens to us. Life is chaotic, life is unfair. And we attract other people on that frequency of like, yeah, that's how the world is. That's how people are. People are stupid. I can't believe people act like that. I hate people. And so it further organizes that experience into our Rolodex, into our memory. And it's relatable. It makes us feel understandable to people. And so it's this control of like, I'm in control of my narrative, and we are really just reinforcing what just happened to us. But by telling it and getting like, no, Carla, I just need to tell this, because then we feel this false sense of control. I have a grip on it. It's not running its course through me. I'm in control of it. But really, it's just taking us for a ride. It's just, again, it is a little gremlin, like rubbing its hands together, happy that we are giving energy to this nasty thing that just happened. And again, not just like bypass it or push it down, but to sit with it, to learn how to sit with it through breath work, through tapping, through parts work. And this is the work that we're not taught to do. And we don't want to do, frankly. And I don't blame us. But yeah, so venting isn't bad. It's just not complete. It is not adaptive. It's discharging without the transformation. That's what it is. It's like we think we're doing the healthy thing by letting it out, but we're not really doing the inner work. It's the awareness that something triggered us and bothered us, but we're not elevating out of it. We're not transmuting it. We're not alchemizing it. You know what I mean? Like talking to your friend about it doesn't alchemize the inner work in yourself. It's just throwing it out. It's like, think about taking out the trash. You experience a big piece of poo-poo garbage come up within you, and you need to put it in the trash can, like in the trash bin within your inner system. Not taking out the trash to an outer trash bin, because that's not taking it out at all. It's like moving it from one screen to another, from moving it from your inner world to someone else's world. I guess that's a good way. So say you have like, you know, you're a monitor and your friend is a monitor, and you take the trash and you just drag it onto their monitor, but it's still in your system. You know, I don't know why that metaphor is coming to me, but we got to take the trash out, put it in our trash, and delete the file within our own system, not just throwing it out outside of us, because it's really just staying in our system, you know? So instead of venting, right? Instead of like, I'm not saying don't vent, we just have to complete the cycle. So you can vent, but say, you know, be aware, be like, I'm venting, I'm fully aware of it. And I'm also going to, after the vent session, sit with this and complete this cycle. I'm going to acknowledge and express it. I can vent, send the text, offload it. And I'm going to sit with it and regulate my body. And then I'm going to say, why did this bother me? Why am I triggered? What's really happening within my internal family system? Like what parts of me are triggered? And how can I see this differently? What part of me is addicted to this? What part of me is getting off on the negative thing that just happened to me? What's my gain? Do I feel validated that I'm a victim, that bad things happen to me, that the world is like this, that I have no control, that the outside world or outside people have control over me? I'm not responsible. It's not my fault I feel this way. It's their fault. Taking full accountability and reframing. How can I see this differently? Why am I really upset? What's really going on? What's my role in this? And then choose a higher thought. What's one higher thought? How can I think about and feel differently? And how can I act differently around this? I guarantee, because this happens to me all the time, and I'm not perfect, but something happens that triggers me, and I go to my text and I start texting out my sisters right away, and then I delete it all and I just sit with it and I go, Carla, what's really going on? Why are you upset? How can I see this differently? And that's the full cycle. And then I never even have to talk about it because I don't want to bring it back up and give it more energy. Okay? So this gets us out of the basement, because venting happens in the basement. Something happens basementy, low level, and then we just stay in the basement and we like throw a dinner party. Like, oh my God, sit down at the table. Let's have some tea and talk about what just happened to me. So let's move out of the basement. But talking about it and keeping that story and sharing it with everybody we see, because we get that small hit, it just keeps us talking about the basement instead of processing it and rising up to the penthouse. Okay? So that was my TED Talk on venting. And so it feels good because your nervous system is releasing that pressure and your brain is getting that reward of telling the story, and nothing wrong with that. But if we just stop there, we're not really healing it. We're just rehearsing that negative feeling, all right? So venting feels good because we're human and we want a witness to our pain, but that's not enough. Don't just tell people something bad that happened. Do it and then go within. And then you realize you don't even have to do that first step of venting to other people. So what did you think about that? I remember I was shocked when I first heard this. And I was in grad school and this idea had come across actually from Rhonda Byrne's book, The Greatest Secret. You know, Rhonda Byrne is the woman who wrote The Secret, but she wrote another book called The Greatest Secret, and it came out, I think, in 2020. I have the audiobook, and there's a section of chapter 6 that is so powerful. And I actually have the audio, and I'm going to post it in my community, the Penthouse Frequency community, because it talks about just sitting with the discomfort of a trigger instead of throwing it out and venting. Learning how to sit with it and breathe through it and alchemizing it and saying, what is this? What's really going on? What part of me is really triggered? Getting some space and awareness from the part and soothing it within. not going to outside sources, not going to my friends or other people to validate me. I'm going to validate myself with self energy. So yeah, I remember hearing about this. I was like, what? But venting is so healthy. It's getting it out. It's sharing my experience. It's being witnessed. And that's all true. But then what, Carla? What am I going to do now? Like, yeah, they're wrong. Screw them all. And go about my day like, no, that's all happening within me. My subconscious mind does not know I'm venting and angry at someone else. It only knows me. So doing the next step. So venting isn't all bad. It's just all bad when that's where you stop. Venting is healthy. Just don't stop there. That's not the full process. That's a great way to look at it. Okay. So I might do I'm going to do an EFT tapping guided audio about regulating. Like when I want to vent, I can do this tapping exercise. See, this is where I love ideas. And I put all of these resources in my Penthouse Frequency. I will not talk about my community until the day I die. It is just my whole life's work. It's my library. It's where I put everything. It's where I go every day to regulate. Like today I was at the park and I listened to my Connecting with a Park guided meditation. I did a breath work. I just love this community. So if you are somebody who's into personal development, manifestation, going after your goals, but you just want to do it with more regulation and more peace, really doing it in control from the inside out, not in fear and, desperate energy or feeling like it's not going to work for you or it can't be consistent. You're always hypervigilant. This is the work. I mix my therapeutic modalities and training with personal development work. And it has at least been for me the key that's unlocked everything. Regulating my nervous system. That's the first pillar, regulating the body and the emotions. Then pillar number 2 is rewiring the subconscious mind, going in, pulling out those weeds, planting the good seeds, identity work, and then consciously creating your reality, knowing the universal laws, knowing how this game works, and playing accordingly with all of the knowledge you have in a regulated state. So I hope you enjoyed this episode all about venting and the true process of venting. It's not enough to stop. Do the full process, alchemize it. All right, y'all. Until next time, have a wonderful day.